If you're a person that does anything creative, I'm sure you've been in the place where you make something, think that it's fine, but then you come back to it later and think about all the things you could have done better with that project. You might think, if only I had an editor to help me be a smarter creator. Well, I can't get you an editor. I do have a little trick that might help. I was at an art competition one time, and one of the supervisors told us something like this. You know, when you're in a room with a bad smell and it stinks, but then you get used to it and it doesn't smell so bad. But then you leave the room and come back, and suddenly you can smell the stink again. The same can go for art and, in our case, writing, but technically this can be applied to a lot of things, where you look at something for a while and you get used to how it looks. So when you take a break and come back with fresh eyes, you can see the imperfections. I should also add that that's why it's so important to flip your canvas when you draw, because it gives you a different perspective on what you're working on. Unfortunately, with writing, we can't just flip the canvas. See what problems the project has. However, we can use the previous trick where we just step away for a while. This is why, if you're like me and you make webcomics, I'd recommend writing the scripts for the episode as far ahead in time as you can, rather than just writing one episode, then drawing it, writing one episode, then drawing it, etc. Having the episodes written in advance helps save time later on and gives you the chance to look at your writing with a fresh perspective, so you can change or rewrite whatever you need to that you might not notice when it's hot off the press. You might be wondering, how long do I need to leave it alone? Well, that depends on you, and I suppose how much time you have to work on your project, but it can be anywhere between a few hours, days, or even months. But just long enough to get all the details out of your head so you can see it differently when you come back to it. Sometimes I like to call this proving. In baking terms, it's when you leave the dough alone so that it can rise, and when you bake it into the final product, it will have better shape and flavor. Obviously, it's not the same thing as the art and writing version, but I think the concept of stepping away from what you're doing still stands. So if you think, War, why is it taking you so long to make videos? Because my video scripts have to prove too. I'd also like to mention that this tactic can also be helpful when you're frustrated with a project. Usually if you take a break, then come back to it, you'll find that it's not as awful as you thought. So hopefully that all made sense, but if you have any questions or comic related topics you'd like me to cover, just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye!